Formula One loves a perfect story. The Red Bull Junior team is sold as the ultimate talent factory, a ruthless machine that takes raw kids and turns them into world champions. Sebastian Vettel spent 7 years in the program. Daniel Ricciardo served 4. Carlos Sainz lasted 5. But then there's Max Verstappen. The official narrative says he's the greatest product of the Red Bull Junior system. The timeline tells a completely different story. Was Max actually developed by Red Bull? Or did he force the most powerful team in the sport to break every rule just to get him? This is the great F1 lie exposed. The bidding war of 2014. It's early 2014. Max Verstappen is just 16 years old and racing in the European Formula 3 Championship. He's not wearing Red Bull blue. He's not wearing Mercedes silver. His car is unbranded with almost no major sponsor logos. He's a complete free agent, managed aggressively by his father, Jos Verstappen, the former F1 driver known for his no-nonsense approach. And Max is absolutely destroying the competition. He wins races, takes poles, and shows a level of aggression and racecraft that terrifies everyone watching. Teams are paying attention. Big teams. Mercedes, fresh off dominating with their hybrid powerhouse, saw the potential immediately. Toto Wolff personally sat down with Jos and Max. The offer was clear and professional. Join the Mercedes Junior Academy. They would fund his GP2 season, give him proper development, and in 2 or 3 years, try to find him a seat at Williams or another backmarker team. It was the safe, traditional route that most young drivers dream of. But the Verstappens didn't want safe. They didn't want to wait. They wanted the grid, and they wanted it now. That's when Dr. Helmut Marko entered the picture like a shark smelling blood. Marko, the ruthless head of Red Bull's driver program, knew the junior ladder was stacked with talented but unproven drivers. He also knew Max was different, once-in-a-generation talent who could change everything. To beat Mercedes to the prize, Marko didn't offer another junior contract. He didn't promise years of grooming. He offered something no other team would dare at that moment. He offered Max an F1 seat, immediately. On August 12, 2014, Max Verstappen was officially announced as a Red Bull Junior. Just 6 days later, on August 18th, Red Bull confirmed he would race for Toro Rosso in 2015. At only 17 years old, making him the youngest driver in F1 history at the time. The speed of the deal shocked the paddock. Red Bull had completely bypassed their own carefully built junior system. The fake junior era, here's where the official story completely collapses. Max Verstappen spent exactly 0 full seasons developing inside the traditional Red Bull Junior team structure. He never went through the long sim sessions, the intense fitness camps in Austria, or the years of psychological evaluation and molding that drivers like Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon, or even Yuki Tsunoda had to endure. He raced most of his 2014 F3 season in a plain car with almost no Red Bull branding. Then suddenly, in the final few rounds, Red Bull logos appeared on his car. He wore the official Red Bull Junior suit for roughly 2 months of actual racing before being promoted straight to Formula One. Think about that timeline again. Other Red Bull Juniors spent years fighting for survival inside the program, constantly under pressure to deliver results or face the axe. Max skipped almost all of it. Red Bull didn't develop him. They simply bought the rights to the hottest property in junior motorsport at the exact moment he became unstoppable. Helmut Marko later admitted in interviews that they had to act fast because Mercedes was closing in. The decision to promote Max so early was a massive gamble, one that broke Red Bull's own long-standing rules about driver maturity and experience. Max arrived at Toro Rosso in 2015 not as a finished product of the system, but as its new benchmark. From day one, he was already operating on a different level. His debut season included that legendary overtake on Felipe Nasr at Turn 1 in Brazil, and multiple points finishes that left seasoned drivers speechless. The Red Bull Junior team didn't shape Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen reshaped what the Red Bull Junior team had to become. The payoff and the lie. Today, Red Bull proudly markets Max as the ultimate success story of their junior program. Documentaries, social media posts, and team statements constantly repeat the line, "Another champion from the Red Bull Junior team." But the reality is the exact opposite. Max wasn't a product of the system. He was the exception that exposed how slow and rigid the system actually was for true generational talent. After promoting Max at 17, the bar inside Red Bull became impossibly high. The junior program has spent the better part of a decade trying, and mostly failing, to find another driver who could match his raw speed, racecraft, and mental strength. Drivers like Gasly, Albon, Tsunoda, Lawson, and others have all felt the pressure of following in footsteps that were never truly part of the same ladder. They went through the full academy process. Max never did. Even Jos Verstappen has been open about it in recent years. In multiple interviews, he made it clear that the family always planned to reach F1 as quickly as possible, with or without a big manufacturer program. Red Bull simply provided the fastest elevator. The uncomfortable truth for Red Bull is this: their greatest driver wasn't carefully developed over years inside their famous academy. He was scouted late, signed in a panic, and fast-tracked because he was too good to risk losing. The Red Bull Junior label was added almost as an afterthought, a marketing patch to make the aggressive move look like part of the plan. Max didn't need Red Bull's system to become world champion. Red Bull needed Max to keep their system relevant. Since his arrival, the junior program has produced solid drivers, but none with the same aura or dominance. The Verstappen era forced Red Bull to change how they operate. They now sign talents earlier and take bigger risks. But the magic formula that supposedly created Vettel, Ricciardo, and others clearly didn't create Max. He created his own path, and Red Bull was smart enough to jump on board before anyone else could. The real legacy. So was Max Verstappen ever truly a Red Bull Junior? Technically, yes, for a few months on paper. In reality, no. He was a free agent superstar who forced the most powerful junior program in the world to abandon its own rules just to secure his signature. He didn't graduate from the factory, he broke into the factory and immediately took control. That's what makes his story so fascinating. While other drivers were patiently climbing the Red Bull ladder, Max kicked the ladder down and demanded the top rung immediately. And he delivered. 4 world championships and counting. Red Bull still loves to claim him as their ultimate junior success. But the timeline doesn't lie. The greatest driver of his generation didn't come from the Red Bull system. The system had to bend and then break to keep up with him. That's the great F1 lie. Max Verstappen wasn't made by Red Bull. Red Bull was lucky enough to catch him before he made history somewhere else. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Formula One's biggest myths, smash that like button and subscribe for more hard-hitting F1 investigations, timeline breakdowns, and stories the paddock doesn't want you to hear. What do you think? Was Max ever a real Red Bull Junior, or was he always destined to rewrite the rules? Drop your take in the comments below. I read every single one. And that's where the debate really gets interesting, because if you look at how quickly Max Verstappen rose, it doesn't follow any normal path we've seen in Formula One history. No waiting, no seasoning, no slow build, just raw talent, dropped straight into the spotlight. Even Helmut Marko, the architect of the Red Bull Junior system, had to take a gamble he'd never taken before. And that gamble changed everything. It blurred the line between junior driver and once-in-a-generation talent, because drivers like Max don't fit systems. Systems have to adapt to them. And maybe that's the real story here, not whether he was a junior, but whether the concept of a junior program even applies to someone like him, a driver who arrived already complete, already dangerous, already inevitable. So years from now, when we look back at this era, we might not say Red Bull created Max Verstappen. We might say Max Verstappen redefined what Red Bull and Formula One could be.